Okay.
Hey students, welcome back. Today we're going to get into the wrapping without sectioning. I still want you to get, now this is 2020, we have a pandemic. I am teaching from home out of my she shed. I'm giving you videos. Please watch these. If there's any questions when we meet for class online, please write them down. Ask me the questions. We can go back on it. I can cover it in other types of information that we do. Or I could place my mannequin as close as I can to the laptop and show you what I'm doing. So if there's any questions, please. Now on our book, when you watch the video, they use picks, and it's there. You can use them. The only thing with that, on a perm, it doesn't mean that you can't. It's that you have to be careful the type of picks that you use. Usually the plastic hair picks, you can get them at Sally's. I would put one on each side of the perm rod, and you'll understand that in a few minutes. I'll try and remember to demo it for you, but initially State Board wants you to wrap only the back section. That's all that's required at State Board, but if you know how to get there from the front, it makes it a lot easier. So remember, it's the mohawk section that we're doing right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping it. I'm going to explain a little bit of it. And there's just a couple things that I want to talk about here. You know where the top of the head is, the apex. That's the very center top. You can see that I've parted it right down the center. I mean, that's the middle of the nose, comes up. That's what you're going to do. You're then going to take your perm rod, and you see the very middle of the perm rod. 1, 2, 3, 4, that very middle section, that's going to be placed right at the center. So that helps you then section out, and again, it's got the little soft spots in between the rough edges on the ends. So you can see that. So one thing I want to explain, and I'm going to show you real quick, and understand that this comes forward a bit. So this looks slightly like a triangle part, and that's because it is. So I'm going to take this, bring it up to the upper ridge, take this section. I hope you guys can see everything I'm doing. Get up to the upper ridge again, try and keep it just as even as we can. And how do we know? There's the little whites to the eyes, isn't there? So there's little things that you've learned. And the reason you would not wrap this backwards, in other words, I'm going to take that little corner off. Your subsection should not be wider than the rod itself. So let's see where we are on the rod. That is just a scotch wider. Your subsection should be just real close to the widest area is going to be the width of the perm rod. So I'm going to move that hair out of the way, I think. Get one of my clips here, because that one's fighting me. Okay. And that's all we need right there. Upper ridge, that's it. Line of the eye. Right there, line of the eye, right there. We got it. It's perfect. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to wrap it going back. And I want you to see what happens when we wrap this section going back. Now, if you're using picks, you could probably do it. But hair this length, not advisable. And I'm using the same color rods you were given at school to practice this at home. So I want to take it now. You usually want to stand right in front of it. Remember, I shared with you that sometimes it was difficult for me to make sure it's straight because I'm standing cockeyed. But we want it on base, so we take it directly off base, bring it up. Okay. This is why we do not wrap it going back in the front. Are you ready? Right there. You need a pick. You have to have a pick for that. So this hair is pretty long. It's really not a problem in this area. Let's get that little area off. It's not a problem if we wrap it, hold it back, kind of twisting I'm doing my morning exercise. That twisting, you know, back and forth. And I want to show you again something about the end papers that you need to do when you get them out of the box. But let me wrap this first. I'm going to bring it forward. I know you can, I'm hoping you can catch the top. So if I bring this part forward, and then, I hate it when it does that, and it will, when, see those edges, that's why those edges have to be, you have to get them just right. Now remember I'm your teacher, I thought I was perfect. There you go. And keep your fingers, index fingers there so that hair stays intact. Now that's right on its base. Make sure that's not all jiggly. And it stays. So from the apex forward, I'm going to wrap those coming forward. So I want to wet her down a bit because her ends are starting to dry, and the best way for that to capture those end papers is if it's wet. Okay, what I want to show you about the end papers, when you get them out of the box, they're going to be like this. All right, they're going to be like that. You want to place your comb, press and turn. Press and turn. It'll turn in your hand a little bit. That's okay. It'll keep turning. And what you do is you flare them out. When you flare them out, it's easier to pick them up. Otherwise, you're fighting with it because they kind of stick together. So there's your big clue on that. Okay, so I'm going to stand. I'm going to comb this back now. Now I have a guide on each side on where to section the hair off. So I'm going to comb it back. I'm going to do a couple more. Got a hair caught in there. Okay, there you go. I'm going to do a couple more coming forward, and then I'm going to start the back. When I start going backwards, and we're going to stop the camera a little bit, let me get it down to about the occipital there. Now see, there's my guide. So this one, I hope I didn't stand in front of you, I might have. So I'm sectioning it off. I want to make sure that it's clean. It's a clean line. Okay. And again, I want to show you. Are you up on top, cameraman, so you can see the top? All right. I want to show you where that's right next to it. Do I need to lean it forward a bit? Okay. Let me lean it forward because I really want you to get a visual on it. Okay, so lean it forward, and you can see I've got my line. Okay, so that line is going to keep coming back. I've got a guide now to follow. So once you start this, and like I said, when I'm standing cockeyed, I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit more difficult to get them perfect. I will be fixing this when I come back. Don't worry, it's going to get fixed. But I just want you to see and get a visual on it because I can. So anyways, I'm going to hold it back and get those ends in there. And I'm going to bring it straight up and do a double flap wrap. So I'm doing a double flap wrap. One paper on top of the other. Make sure those ends are captured, and I'm bringing it forward. Then I'm going to take my band. My band goes back behind it because it's going to halo the head. Okay, I'm going to do one more. And then again, I've got my guide there. Bring that down. Got my guide there, bring that down. There you go. So I'm going perfect on the mohawk, just following my sectioning guide. I want to make sure this is clean and straight. And you know, until you get used to it, you develop an eye for it. But until you get used to it, you know, measure your perm rod so that your section is not too big. There's going to be a little bit. If you make your section slightly smaller, they kiss a little more. If you make it exactly right, they kind of separate a bit because of the turning. On shorter hair, it may not separate as much. I'm doing this on my long-haired mannequin. The reason for that is so that you guys learn control. And I'm going to bring that forward. All right. There you go. The band goes. Remember, I brought it forward so the band goes behind it. So those are all resting just fine. Okay, now the rest of these, I'm now going to stand behind my mannequin. And I have my guide. Section it off. Bring it straight up. And now this time, bring it again in the opposite direction. End paper to the back. Now, can we do the folded end paper? Yes, but I want you to see what happens with that. See, it becomes shorter. So what happens is the hair likely to fall out. That's why on this, and that would be called the bookend. So we want to do the double flap. Just basically, I do this even on short hair. Basically because it covers all of it. I don't worry about little hairs coming out. Standing behind it now. Come straight up. Now what I'm doing is I'm going straight back. Okay, and I'm holding it away because I want that thing to come down exactly on base. And remember, if I'm rolling it this way, the band goes here. If I'm rolling it that way, the band goes there. So don't be confused on the band position when you change directions. Again, the band halos the head. In other words, the band looks like a line coming around when you see the side of it. When you see the side of it. That one's up a little bit. I'm not going to worry about it, but you see that. That's pretty close. All right? So I'm going to take it down to the middle of the occipital. We're going to close for a little bit, and then you'll come back, and then you'll see me come down to the nape because there's certain things you have to do as you travel down the occipital. So I'll just be right back. It'll be pretty much done. Okay, students, so you can see that I've taken it down to the lower ridge, and I've gone ahead and separated the sections because my line, and I want to turn the mannequin around to show you the bottom, we're even with that little V right there. So both sides are even. So that says that my mohawk section is working. Is it going to take practice on your part to get it even? Yes, that's why you need to practice doing your perm wraps. I mean, like if we were in the school, literally, and I'm not kidding, you would be assigned as an assignment for your daily work. So I challenge you with it. Oops. I challenge you with it. Would you do a full perm wrap twice a week? You got 4 perm wraps to do between now, well, let's say during Christmas break. You got 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks off. Would you do twice a week a full perm wrap so you could practice? That's up to you. If you want to learn how to do this and get it down. The point is, you have to pull it away so that it rests right on its base, and every one of these are right in that little section. Remember, when we hold it straight up, it's half off. When we bring it towards us, it's completely off. The one thing that I want to show you as I'm doing the rest of this is, many times books will say, or instructions will say, don't use tension. Well, you have to use tension to get a nice even wrap, or it's going to look kind of uneven. You'll see all these little hairs, a little bit like right here. You can kind of see those little hairs popping up a bit. I'm not going to worry about it. But, for yourself, if you have big bumps coming out of it, that means you're wrapping it too loose. So tension is good. But you don't want to be pulling the hair out, but you got to hold it, let's say taut, so tight. So I'm going to turn the mannequin around a bit, but you see that I moved her completely forward so that I can work straight down with her. I'm going to comb this down. Oh, there's my water bottle. Didn't pick it up while I was sectioning. So I'm going to get that wet. and I'm going to come down to the nape. Now, on these rods, you're not going to find any short ones. Normally on the other colors, yeah, you do find some short rods, but not on these rods. So again, like I said, I've kind of developed an eye for it. This is the orange rod size. I'm going to put it right there for you to see. That's exactly right. Keep in mind, I've been doing this a long time, so I can see it. You can see that my line is clean. It's going across. I hope my arm isn't getting in your way there, because I'm going to make myself all crooked to try and make it look straight, which makes it hard. I want to get all that hair underneath the paper. As I wrap it, I'm going to use my thumbs to kind of secure it. Can you see that? I'm going to bring it around, and again, look at how tight that is. If I was holding it loose, I couldn't do it. It would slip out. So you have to have some kind of tension. I'm holding it away from its base. And then, now that it's on there, see it's on there, then I just bring it down with both fingers. And it's on its base. Put that on there. And oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't, loosen it up, or else it tends to pull it one way or the other. And I can see where, because, see, I was cockeyed, so it's doing that. So I'm going to redo this. Stand directly in front of it so I know I'm in front of you. So this is what I mean. You have to stand in front of your work to make it lay right. Oh, darn it. All right. This is what makes it hard when I'm trying to teach you this, because I almost have to stand in front of the camera, and I don't want to. I want you to see it. I want you to see how I do it. You've got an idea of it, so I'm going to just kind of stand over here. My line is straight, so when the line isn't straight, sometimes it'll do that. So my line is straight. I know that's not off. It's my body that's contoured. And there you go. Now I've got it. There. Loosen that up. Put that across. Oh, why is that still doing that? I don't know. Okay. All right, we're going to move forward. All right, so I'm going to take the next one. Now, look at that line. It's a little bit off. So I want to make sure that it's perfectly straight. And I'm going to bring it straight down. I'm sure it's because I'm a little cockeyed, so when I can't stand directly in front of it, and you'll be standing, straight. You always stand in front of what you're working with. There you go. And that one is still pulling. I think I have a loose hair in there somewhere. I think that's why. Yep, there it is. Okay, got it. There you go. It was just one little hair that was pulling it. Okay, come down to the bottom. And do you notice I'm holding it straight up? Make sure my line is clean. No loose hairs in there to make it bend one way or the other. And if your fingers are wet, it's amazing. You can really separate those papers. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll do this to get my fingers wet and separate the papers. Is my arm getting in the way, cameraman, or are we doing okay?
We're okay.
We're okay, okay. So he's got it above so you guys can see. Okay, so we're bringing it straight down. Again, loosen that, don't let it curl up. If it curls up, it moves it. All right, and the bands are haloing the head. Okay, so I can get two more. Okay, so I'm gonna put these last two in, and then I'm going to section off the side for you guys to see what we need to do with that. Again, make sure it's in there. You see now, it's taut. Now I can, once I see that it's attached, in other words, again, loosen that up, and I put the band on top. The reason you do not press the band all the way back, see, these are on base. That section, this section of hair is traveling around that circle. So this section of hair is traveling around that circle. So that's what the on base does. Gives you maximum volume. And that's what we want. We want that perm to all the way to the scalp. That's why you do it on base. And with the band right here, by not pushing the band back, what happens when we put the product on there, that band could literally break the hair if you're not careful, because the hair swells. It's changing the disulfide bonds. Remember, those are the strongest bonds. They're being broken. That's what gives strength to your hair, is the disulfide bonds. So when those are broken, the hair becomes weaker. And when the hair becomes weaker and you put a knife on it, like a rubber band, it's going to break it. So that's why we lay it on top, to make it stress-free, for one, and then two, it's still going to put the curl on there without, it's not going to put a crimp in it. That's another thing that will do. Okay, now see, I'm coming up so I can land right on base. I'm up inside the perimeter line because I brought it straight up. Now let me see, if I brought it straight out, I'm off. And if I bring it down and try and put it up, look at how much hair, right there, how much hair does not get permed. So up into it for on base. And the way it's written for State Board, it's held away from its base. All right, so what I want to show you now is the sides. I'm going to start them, but we'll shut off so I can finish it. And I'll take it so far so I can show you what else we need to do with it. Okay, so I'm locking this up. I have it on the side. I'm going to get it nice and wet. And do you see the band? I mean, I've got one right there that's a little off, but most of them are haloing the head. That's what you want. You want that band in the middle, in that form. All right, put my water bottle there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, we're on the side of the head, and we have to wrap the perm here and here. But how do we take this and move it back? It's called pivoting. You're going to pivot it back. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And the first thing you're going to do, you're going to measure off at the frontal. Now keep in mind, look at that perimeter line. You see that perimeter line? Comes out, curves in, comes out, curves in. What we want is at the widest area, we're going to take it in this form. We're going to go to that little soft spot. We're going to take it right there so we know we need it here. So where do we need it? There's our line. It's at the apex. All right, so I'm going to take it at the apex, and I'm going to take it at a slight angle. Bring it forward. And like I've shown you before, it ends up being right at this line. So just a slight angle. What we check for with our comb is that that is even and that is even. So we have an even form now. So now I'm going to take this forward, get it out of the way. So as I start this, I'm not going to take a tiny little piece and put a big perm rod on it. It's not going to work. I have to take this and make it a slight triangle. My section will be like this. Can you see that? So I'm going to take it, and it is going to kind of angle out, angle down a bit, because I want this side to be the same width as my perm rod. That's going to come to a point. We know that. So I'm going to take it and bring it in that form. Now, do you see my triangle shape? And it is at a slight angle for now. I'm going to bring it straight up. And again, I hope it doesn't mess me up. Oh, my phone, I got to turn that off. I'll turn it off when we shut off. I hope nobody calls me because I'll have to pull it out of my pocket, just like you guys. All right, so straight up. Hold it back before I wrap it. Hold it back. Secure it. And sometimes you give it that little rocking motion to bring it in. Not a big rock, but there you go. Now see where it's at a slight angle. Again, the band goes on top. All right, now, again, I've got this point right here. I'm pivoting into it. Do you see that? Triangle, pivoting into it. Sorry about my phone, you guys, but I'm just as human as you are. Surprised, aren't you? All right, again, place those in there, hold it with your thumbs, hold it taut, and give it a little bit of a rocking motion on the longer hair. Now do you see it going from here, starting to travel down? Now this line can now be straight, coming down. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down to that, just right at, I'm going to do a couple more, and then I want to show you how to finish off with this tiny little piece right here. All right, so see you in a few. Okay, students, so now we're at the tip of the ear, and we talk a lot about that in the sectioning and the stuff that we do. The tip of the ear is where the occipital starts curving down. Now, and we saw that's the same thing here. We had to move the head forward so that we can put it on there correctly and see what we're doing. Now, we have several options here. I can take it and section it off, put that one there, take it, section it off, put that one there, it gets smaller. And I would need to do one more to be totally correct, and then I would end up with just that little bit of hair, which is less the size. I have found when I get in this area, and this is a personal choice, okay, is I may go ahead and do one right here. Just go ahead, look at it, let's see what you've got. The main thing is you've got to see let's see what you've got. So I'm thinking, you know what, no, I don't think I want to do that. I'm going to take a little bit of a pie shaping. Again, triangle shape. So you can see that that's there, and this comes way up. So I'm going to do another pie right there. And I'm going to let it hug the head a little bit because these are all long rods. I don't have the choice of short ones. When you have shorter rods that you can deal with, you might be able to go straight down. Then you're going to hold it away and still yet bring it in, and you can see where now it's curving in this direction. And the thing about this, and this is going to kind of push it down a bit. Now I'm just taking diagonal parts and doing it kind of like an S shaping right here. And it's just simpler. Makes my life a little easier. I'm using that whole space for the entire rod, instead of having the rod, as you can see that, come out too far into the skin. Now this one is going to be almost spiral shaped. So it's going to be almost a spiral rod right here on this last one. So see how I'm doing it? I mean, even the rod is held vertically. And I'm going to just spiral it. So what I've done, instead of coming straight down, I've taken that and I've pivoted. Otherwise, this rod would be in this form, and I'm going to do it like that on the other side for you to see the difference. And basically, it's wrapped the same way. I'm going to start this area here, and again, remember we talked about having parts. So this is a 9 section, you're doing it in 9 sections, and normally the way it's done is this would just be brought straight down. And one of the biggest complaints that I have from clients is they can see the splits, and they will, because this hair is going to travel all the way up and come around the rod. I'm going to, and on the other side, like I said, what I'm doing right now is I'm showing you little tricks. I could just take this, just as I did here, I showed you this little trick. Otherwise, I could have just kept going straight down. Could pick it up here, bring it over, bring it down. What I want to show you is a little trick so we avoid those lines on the sides. Still 9 sections. So again, I'm going to take it and a triangle part, and I'm kind of inside of it a little bit. See, inside of that line, you see how that dropped? And I'm going to bring it straight up, straight out. So we're still doing it with 9 sections, and this hair's long right here, so straight out, and you'll see it come in if you're not catching it on the camera. And again, I'm capturing it the same way. Now see how that hair's loose? Now see how that hair's tight. Okay, and as I come, I just kind of rock it a bit. It's landed right on its base. Now I'm going to pick this up and again take it at a slight angle. Now this looks a little bigger. So I'm going to take it and bring this up a bit. Now do you see where that extra hair has come up a bit? Because it's almost too wide for the rod. That's the reason. There's your why, because otherwise I would have just gone straight across, which is what I'll do on the other side. I'm going to hold it back, bring it forward, and realistically, once you get into perm wrapping, it'll take you maybe 20 minutes to do a full wrap. So what did I show you about the triangles? That's what we're doing here. We've done 2 triangles. Now we're going to do a 3rd triangle. So it keeps you from showing all those splits. So it actually saves you. And the good part about it is clients will go somewhere else to get a perm, and then they'll say, well, the other girl didn't show all the splits like you did. You don't have to tell the client what you're doing. You just do it. And you see where they are just ever so slightly angled. This is a little wider. This is pointed. So it's pretty much horizontal triangle parts coming down, holding it straight up so it's on its base. And so we're going to break away for a moment, and I'm going to wrap the other side. But you know what? Before we break away, let me show you, because the other side, there is, as I showed you, the triangle. Okay, this time, and it's, some of you students that were in class the other day, you saw how I held a comb. And in one side you hold it up, and the other side you hold it down. Or there is a lot of room for error. So we've got this going. I'm going to comb that down, and we know that this has got to be right there. All right, so we're even on top, and we're even, let me make sure, okay, it's a little more there. Okay, there you go. Even on top, even on the bottom. So get that out of the way. Now, the other side, we were coming in this direction. Well, it's real hard to come in this direction if you're right-handed. Now, Michelle, my left-handed student, yeah, you're going to get this. Because see, now, left-handed, you're just going to come here, and the point, yes, is still going to be, so you still have a triangle shape. All right? And you're going to be going now in this direction towards the rods, just like we did on the other side. Wider here, narrow there. And it's kind of surprising, but sometimes it seems to just work better on one side or the other. So this time you're coming in this direction. The point is still here. If you try and create the point on this side, still trying to do that, you're going to have it, well, you'll end up like this. And then what happens? The rods are going forward because this angle says this way. We want the angle to say this way, to pivot back, in other words. So for left-handed students on this side, that's going to be easier for you because you're going to be able to pick it up. That's going to be a triangle. And then we'll have possibly another little triangle if we need it. And this is a little wider than what I want. So for the rod, and I'll show you, I can visualize it. See, that's much wider. So yeah, we are going to need 2 triangles. I'm not left-handed. I can teach somewhat left-handed. Usually what I do with my left-handed students, yeah, so we're going to need another triangle to pivot it back. So anyways, wider here, narrower, remember, towards the rods in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this. I'm going to do these straight up and down for you to see it. I'll do this straight up and down for you to see it. But I wanted to show you some tricks that you could do that possibly could make your work just a little bit easier. And if you take your sections, and that's what I'll do right here too. I'm going to take my section slightly smaller than the rod, and you'll see where the rods are all going to kiss. Or you know, just touch each other. Anyways, you can do that. That's not a problem. The main thing is this hair here traveled all the way back around the rod on its base. So if I make it a little bit smaller, it pushes them up a little bit more, as opposed to them slightly dropping down, but they're right on their base. All right, the base comes straight out. By the way, I do want to show you something that this does when I show you the finish, and when you come back, I'm going to, okay, remember we were talking about doing a roller set? What do you see? Tell me what you see. Is it the same wrap? Yes, it is. So, mohawk, triangle base, come down. Now we have the shorter rods now here. And this time you're going to get to see lines right there. I didn't change that. I left that alone, but you're going to get to see the lines that give you an indication of a perm wrap. Now, because we put the Clippy on its base, in other words, inside, it's got to be right in the middle of that section that you took. Can you see it, cameraman? You see the Clippies are right in the middle of the section. That's what holds it taut so it doesn't move. Sometimes this first one here, I have to put two of them because it does tend to want to fall forward. That's called gravity. So when you come back, I'm going to take these down. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you the effect of it and what it does. This is a little bit shorter hair, a little bit more layers. That one is pretty much all one length. So these are variables, all variables, and what we decide to do in creating this, in the architecture part of it. So I'll be right back to show you that, okay? So as I showed you, students, see how these kind of come up? This is the thing that I want you to take note of. When you do it in this form, look at how close we are right here to the perimeter line. When you do it in this form, look at how much closer we are to the perimeter line. This is the reason I do it in this form, because when you put the product on, there is going to be a little bit of dripping, not a whole lot. Now, I did it the way the book says here, and it's real nice to be able to do it that way, but we don't have the short rods on this color rod. So we're forced, look at the hair is on this side of the rod. I had to move the rod all the way over and just basically place the hair, wrap the hair around it here, and as you see it's slightly off-centered in this one, and you know, again, it's moved over a little bit right here where the hair curves back a bit. But this is what I'm concerned with, is how close this is to the eyes, how far away it is from the perimeter line, even though it's wrapped exactly on that line itself. So it's your choice. You can, if it fits, do it in this form and use shorter rods as you get down to the nape where you have less base to work with. The same thing on the sides. When you have less base around the sideburn, it's going to decrease in. So you can use the shorter rods. You can use shorter rods up on top if you want. That works out as well. One of the things I do want to show you real quick, we talked about roller setting, and it's not any different than perms. And roller sets work pretty much the same way. Let me get my rollers real quick. It's just going to be a little quick overview. I am going to do a finished set on this, but basically it's learning how to hold your roller and tell your roller, no, you're going to do what I want you to do, period. All right? So what I'm going to show you this part area here, and I'm just going to take it out. I mean, I've got a pretty good idea of the length of the roller, so I'm not too concerned about it. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. So you want to stay within that little dot, that little hole on our rollers. All right? So I'm going to take it, and again, I'm going to section it off to the side at an angle. And I'm going to take this one. Okay, this is the base. This is the rectangular base. I'm going to hold it in this form. I'm holding it straight up. Look at my index fingers, pressing that hair out. When I put it on the rod itself, the hair's got to be wet. See, it's not wet enough. So I want that hair to be wet. I want it to attach. So I'm going to wet that hair a little bit more. Or you can have gel on it. Product really helps as far as keeping that perm rod, that roller on the head form. So I've got that nice and wet now. It's dripping onto my fingers. And again, it depends on your mannequin, but now it's trying to become attached. So I'm just going to use my fingers to get it in there, and then again away from the scalp, and you can see that it's right on it. This area traveled all the way around. Now what I was talking about on the Clippy Placement, you're going to use your double prong clips. You're going to put it into the base, and it's going to hold it. All right? It's okay if it pops a little bit. If that bothers you, then put another Clippy on the other side, and that holds it down. If you have stuff like this happening, and it will when the hair is really straight, take a single prong clip, place it, and write it. There you go. Fixes it right there for you. Now, I'm going to do a set on this, and it doesn't matter what direction you take your rollers. All right? Let's say that I want this to come forward. All right? I'm going to just bring it forward, hold it back, use that same orange rod, force it to do what I want it to do. And if I have to bring it to a point to get it to do what I want, I will. All right, I hope my hands, and there it is on its base. And look at those lovely things coming out, because they're trying to give me a hard time. And it will happen at times with roller setting. Again, place it, hold it. We're forcing it in there so that it does that, and that's going to come forward. I want on this one, and this is where you get creative, and I'm sorry students, but I have a book that has all of these styles, all of this on it, and it's annoying to me that I can't give it to you, but I'll try and make it available for you next semester if we run into each other. Again, if we don't want those splits to show, do you see that triangle base that I just did? And I'm going to bring it back. And this one wants to fight me, but it's not going to win. You have to take control. You have to tell the hair what it's going to do. Hair does not tell you, you tell the hair. So what do I need to do with this little piece? Because yeah, it'll stick out like that in the style. I'm telling it. Okay, so I'm going to take this back around. I want you to see this, that this is, again, a triangle base. You see it? The small side was here, now it's up front. And then again, so what this is going to do, it's going to keep it from showing the splits on it. That one worked a little better, maybe not. I'm going to make it work. And I used all my double prong clips. Is it wrong to use a single prong clip to hold it? No, but I don't want that to flip out. Okay, so here's my last one. Nope, not really. Okay, so another triangle base. Now see, some people, what they'll do is they just do horizontal bases. So I'm not going to finish that one right now. You know it's triangular. Okay, so now I don't want any parts right here. I want this to comb out smoothly. So let me turn this, my mannequin, around so you can see it. So I'm going to take, again, a triangle base. Now I want to keep it the same width as my roller. It's the same thing as when you're doing a perm wrap, but still yet a triangle base. Now going in the opposite direction. Are we going to have a split here? Yes, we are, right here, where hair is going to go in one direction and then it's going to go in the other direction. So I'm going to wrap that. Look at that little blue rod coming out of there. Just had a baby. Okay, that was a single birth delivery, by the way. Wasn't a twin. Okay, so Now we know the point was here, this was wide, so now we take the point here. Again, another triangle base. Now as we go back, I'm gonna, let me give you an example of what bricklay is. You can bricklay the back so it doesn't show. And I'm gonna put one here, bring it forward. Bring it back, come on here, you're gonna do what I want whether you want to or not. And I'm trying to hurry on this because, let me put my comb down. There you go. Come on here, you're gonna do it. And a bricklay does exactly like bricks. So we want absolutely no splits on this, and I'm curling it on both sides. Okay, so my next section will be right here in the middle. See it? And pause this, take a good look at it. And your hair may fight you, it may not fight you. This is a particular mannequin that, you know, different mannequins do different things, just like people. So as you travel down, you're going to do it just like bricks. See it? Now where's the next one going to go? Right here. Then the others will go on the other side of it. So that there, in other words, no splits in between. So I'm going to finish this wrap. On our next video, what we're going to do is I'm going to take down that long-haired perm wrap. I'm going to give you an idea of what it looks like. I am going to style it a bit. I'm going to take down the roller set, which is a little bit bigger than the perm rods, but it's a roller set. And these are a little bit smaller. Remember, your rollers come in different sizes. So you got all your rollers. This is $50. The beige are quarter. I'm sorry, the blue are this is dollar, silver dollar. This is 50-cent piece. This is the beige ones are considered quarter, and then we have a nickel, and then we have a dime. Might be a penny and then a dime, if I recall. All right? Good luck with it. But you can go bigger or you can go smaller. Bigger does not necessarily mean volume. Bigger means less curl. All right? So take care. I'm going to finish these. Next video, we're going to comb them out, and you'll get to see the varieties that we get with it. Thank you very much. Good luck, students. Do the best that you can. With school and stuff in 2020 and the pandemic, you guys are creating history. Trust me on that you'll be able to speak to your clients later on in years when you're licensed, and you're going to say, I learned it during the pandemic, just like World War II or something like that. All right, take care. God bless.